Yo.
Yes, sir.
What's up, guys? Yes. This DJ will kick the floor in 3, 2, 1.
On the troll.
Hello and welcome to Mzansi. We're back again. It's that time of the night where we gather here and have a conversation about what happened and what do we think as a court of public opinion. While we do that, we always request people to like the video, share the video, and we are grateful for those who have really followed up to that. And thank you so much. We see that we have like 26 so far, and we have 10 likes, 15 now, which is good. If we can just keep up with that pace as we go on, and we see people who are on a chat already. We greet you. The first one was Refilwe. We greet you.
Hi,
and obviously, I hope that you guys are warm wherever you are, at home, chilled with your glasses of coffee or whatever that is hot.
Or something
Yes.
like hot chocolate or something like that.
Also, today, court was also
Very
full of
interesting.
drama and very interesting. As usual, our person came in when we thought things were smooth and things were running. All of a sudden, there was a problem.
Aye, she started.
So, guys, keep the likes coming, keep the subscription coming. We are here for that, and the most of the things that are going to be said here, and keep on commenting. If you cannot comment, probably is because we said only people who are subscribed are able to comment in our videos.
On the chat.
In our chat, yes.
You can comment on the comment section if you're not subscribed. But
Yes.
on the chat, it's just people who are subscribed.
Yes, so help yourself, subscribe, and then become the part of the chat. It's buzzing already. Emily, I don't want to waste any time because I don't
there's a
know
lot
what
to
is going to
go
happen
through,
here in terms of internet, and we might have problems now and then, but I don't foresee them. I just hope that we have a smooth one like yesterday.
Yes, let's hope for a smooth one. Let me get started. Hi guys, welcome back to the Mzansi Reality YouTube channel. So today we're gonna go through a lot of things that happened in court today, a lot. So might as well get started now and hit the ground running. So the state prosecutor, Advocate Judge Baloyi, put guidelines for the media, for the. Wait a minute, Mr. Anonymous.
Yes,
I'm gonna need a short break.
you're going to need a short break.
I'm going to need a short break. I'm going to need backups.
That is a difficult one. Then.
Oh, but everything, let me double check. I think everything is fine. It's just me. I'm paranoid after what happened yesterday. It's just me, like I'm paranoid. I don't know. After what happened yesterday, Mr. Anonymous, I'm very paranoid. Guys, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Yeah, you can have your turn. You can fix whatever that you need to fix. But guys, again, while Emily is fixing what she needs to fix.
So yes, the state prosecutor Advocate Judge Baloyi put guidelines for the media on record, which must be followed
Are you
during
fine?
the trial. Yes, I'm fine.
Because
So
I
reading
had
the
given you
guidelines-
that break.
Oh, you can continue. It's fine.
Okay. Right. Let's continue then.
So, reading the guidelines into the record as requested by the judge on Tuesday, media must not disrupt the trial. There's a letter from the editor on names of people covering the trial to be issued, and they must have ID tags and photos during proceedings. No photos of the accused during proceedings must be taken, and no photos of witnesses. Media must not move around during proceedings. Fixing of microphones needs to be done before court and switched off during the adjournment. No recordings of bench discussions, exhibits not to be recorded or photographed. I feel like these restrictions are way too many. They just keep getting added and added with each day. I don't understand. And then everyone must be appropriately dressed. Equipment must be removed or replaced during the court proceedings. I even heard that they were being instructed to wear formal.
Okay.
these restrictions are getting more and more. And all interviews needed to be conducted outside the building. A witness cannot be approached or interviewed without permission from the state prosecutor. So before the journalists can talk to anybody who's a witness, they need to go through Advocate Baloyi first. So there were a lot of guidelines, and honestly, I was like, yo, if I was petty and I was the media, I was going to contest. But that's not me. That's not me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on the YouTube. So it honestly felt like the state is pushing it now. There's way too many. And then I wanted to ask Mr. Anonymous, do you think 1010 Films is still there recording the proceedings?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
And I hope not. I hope so.
Okay, so Criselda Lewis stood up to ask a question, and she asked if they were allowed to do any live crossings during lunch breaks. They usually do live crossings prior to the court, and also during the lunch hour. So you'd find that they're broadcasting from the court, but usually it's outside the court. So Baloyi said that he doesn't think that there'll be any problem with that. He said that he thinks that there's been live crossings in the past. And then something very interesting happened. Advocate Mshololo said that she had a problem with the live crossings done in front of the court because they interfere with their movements during breaks. And the judge asked Criselda to elaborate on what she meant by live crossings. And Criselda Lewis then said that they usually update the public in the morning before the court. They'd give an update of what is expected to transpire on the court. And during lunch, they give an update on what has happened from morning until lunchtime. And then Advocate Mshololo was like, the order was made that live crossings should be done outside the court, of which is what I have been seeing in my viewing of media houses and their reporting on the Senzo Meyiwa trial. They do it outside of the court. And the judge asked, where does the court start? You know, the law says that there can't be any demonstrations 500 meters outside of the court. But you know, people barricade the streets, even with politics. You know, it happens that people, they do, and no judge enforces it.
In that, the judge was trying to say that you do not know where the limits of the courts are in terms of what we may say, radius or whatsoever that you might say. Where does the court stop? Where does, if you say not within the court area, then where does the court start? Where does it end? It's like a Bible script. You know that Bible script when who was questioning God about the pain that he was feeling.
Job.
And then God said, "Were you there when I started this whole thing?" So basically, that's what the judge was trying to exert to Mshololo. Well, Mshololo, who for many I think has been a favorite, but yes. I've never. So far, I'm not sold, in a sense. I'm not sold by Mshololo I'm not happy that every decision that requires these other three advocates and one attorney, Mshololo is the one who answers first. So everything now becomes the order of the day. When Mshololo says yes, everyone's going to say yes, we are fine. I'm not sure if that is how these things should happen. Not because I think Mshololo is, but in my thinking, the people that have, some of the accused that have a chance of, if this case was to be dropped, going out, they should be seeing this case in a different view, you know? They should be contesting whatever little things that they can. You're still gonna apply for a bail. You are now allowed to apply for a bail. So such things as when you feel that these things are actually delaying the court, you should object to those things. You should make your views heard in a sense, so that you create your case. To say that if I was to defend, or if I was to go and present for someone who needs bail, such things should be taken into account, that what you are seeing in court, there is no agent. Small things are being contested, so that is delaying your customer from being released or from being free, because you don't know when this case is going to end in any case. So keeping these people here, and it's not like when they go out, there's someone that they're going to go threaten or something like that.
All right, so the judge then said, but the prisons of the court, they start at the pavement. Then Advocate Mshololo got up to say that the problem that they had was that their movements were limited inside the court because they come there preparing, robing, consulting, and doing everything.
Why don't you do robing in your car? Or in fact, there's even we eventually got that there's an office.
You know, and you find that the camera captures you when you're doing that. So it turns out there's a robing room that she had not used, and she said that she doesn't know the robing room. She doesn't know about it. Then Baloyi confirmed to say that there's actually a robing room upstairs. You know? I
like this judge because he knows what he's talking about. Because the question was like, are there no robing rooms anymore?
The judge asked, it was like, are there any more? In my time, there were robing rooms where you wear your robe, you know? So what is happening now? And Baloyi was like, okay, they are in the second floor. You just need to get a key or something like that.
Since these days they seem to speak one thing, most of the things that they raise there, they agree upon. Baloyi and Mshololo. Couldn't Baloyi have assisted Mshololo in that regard? So that day, my colleague, there's a room there for robing.
And I felt like she was being extra, honestly speaking. In my opinion, I felt like Advocate Mshololo today.
No, I've been feeling like that. Most of the things are exacerbated. But I guess people work in works in a different way. Other people have their way of working, I guess.
There's more important issues. I don't think this media thing. Why are you so afraid of the media? I don't get it. This is a high-profile case. You knew that when you took it.
Remember, there was this whispering that we heard. We're not sure whether it was coming from her or what. That whispering of Gunenkani, sort of like referring maybe. Allegedly,
or could have but that the proceedings were still happening.
Yes.
It wasn't like it happened after the proceedings during the adjournment. No, they happened during the proceedings.
But I'm saying this. I'm not sure it was her or what, but it sounded because it was after an argument between the interpreter and Mshololo, and then there was that so. Meaning
maybe she has a problem.
Maybe the interpreter might have been stubborn or something like that for those who do not understand the language.
Well, yesterday court adjourned when Lorraine narrated how they rushed Senzo Meyiwa to the Botsilong hospital with her sister, Zandile Khumalo, in the driving seat. Well, she left off where they had a towel on the wound. So today she continued with her testimony, and she said that when we were in the car putting pressure on the wound, trying to talk to him so that he could keep his eyes open, I noticed Senzo Meyiwa's eyes were open and he was looking up, sobbing and breathing very heavily. And then I knew that Lorraine is coming through today. I kept touching his face and saying, Senzo, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We are about to get to the hospital. I lifted his t-shirt and touched his stomach, and I could feel that his temperature was no longer the same. He was now cold in his stomach. Cold. Okay, ask Lulengela, but you guys cold.
Yeah, and I mean, the stomach is one thing that shouldn't be cold first, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Zandi then sobbed intensely. Zandi Khumalo was now very emotional and started crying. It was early at the beginning of her testimony, and already she was crying.
Yeah.
Uqale early namhlanje uLorraine. You know, you could even hear the tearing of the package of the tissue. I heard it. But today, the tears sounded a little bit more genuine. And I thought that maybe she's scared. Maybe the
More
nerves
genuine.
are hitting home.
How did you hear it was more genuine?
I
Because
just
it started
felt
early.
like they were at the beginning. I didn't understand that she was going to pull such stunts today. But I was like, maybe she is really scared this time. Kwazibani.
I'm not moved by tears most of the time, because more so if you are from the industry.
They use them a lot.
Tears is something that can come naturally when you are like that. Maybe you crying. I've never seen you act or even do a music video and
She's
whatnot.
a performer after all.
So yeah, so I'm not sold still, and it would have been nice to have that whole I would say starting of crying on visual. Body reading, so that you can now have that conclusion of saying that,
for ourselves,
it looked genuine.
Maybe they were genuine, because now you could even hear with her tone, the disrespectful, arrogant tone she had when Judge Shipiwa Maumela was the one presiding over this case. Compared to now, the tone of the voice is a little bit softer. So I was thinking that maybe the disrespect that she's been doing has caught up. Oh boy, was I wrong. Then Advocate Baloyi suggested a brief comfort break, caught adjourned for 5 minutes, okay, so that she could go and finish crying.
And again, we probably, with that 5 minutes, saved maybe 10 to 20 minutes. That could have been, maybe the case should have been, should it had been a different judge. We probably saved that 20 minutes with that 5 minutes. I was happy with that in dealing with the emotions and whatnot, and also making sure that you sympathize with someone who's testifying, helping the court to arrive at a better conclusion.
Then she came back on the stand, and then she continued telling her testimony. She says, we then arrived at the hospital and we rushed in and told the security that we would sign in later. With the local, it was like 5 to 10 minutes to travel to the hospital. So when she says with a local, I'm assuming she means with a taxi, a local taxi.
Yeah.
So it takes 5 to 10 minutes for them to reach the hospital.
Yes.
So she says we got to the hospital reception area and I noticed where it was written emergency area, and I got out of the car because I was seated by the door and rushed in and entered the reception and found ladies seated at the reception. I screamed and I asked them to help and screamed that someone was shot. Then they came out with a bed with wheels, a stretcher, and I showed them where we had parked the car. They then took him out of the car and put him on the stretcher. And you could just see he could not move or anything. Uthi bekalenga. Ukulenga, Mr. Anonymous, help me out.
It's when your body parts are letting go of whatever that you have. So basically you don't have control of them, because ulenga, you just let go of everything, your arms, your legs. You are no longer in control of your body parts, I guess.
They put him inside and we followed. They didn't allow us into the room where he was to be examined. They said we should wait in the waiting room that was close to the pharmacy. If I remember well, as we were waiting outside, my mother then arrived, accompanied by Longwe. So she gave her mother's full names, which were Zandile Khumalo. She asked us where Senzo was. Now, this is very interesting because I felt like, okay, something has changed here. And please, guys, listen carefully. I don't know if I'm the only one who picked it up. So she says when her mother arrived, she asked them where Senzo was. And they pointed her to the room they went to. She passed them and they went to that room. So her mother asked them, where is Senzo, when she arrived? And then they pointed her to the room that Senzo was taken into. And she passed them and she went to that room. But the last time she said that they all waited in one of the hospital, and one of the hospital staff then called for her mother, and then she went into the room after that. So that part has been de novoed.
It went with de novo.
It has been de novoed. Then in no time, she said, I heard my mother burst out and cry. Baloyi reminded her that what her mother told her is not admissible. So she asked, did she then make a report to you? And then Zandi said, before she came to us, she started crying on the other side. And that is where we could tell that something was not right. Her voice started shaking now. Tata Lorraine. Then mom came to us and told us that Senzo was no more. Baloyi then asked, what about the other people? What other people told you is not admissible. That's what he had to remind her again, that don't tell the court what other people had said. It's not admissible. Baloyi asked, what did you observe yourself? And then Zandi said, my mother came to us and told us that he was no more. Anything else, I don't know. We all stood there crying because we were hurt. We then saw Mr. Twala arriving, Longwe's father. It was interesting today because Begambiza Ubaba Twala, which before the novo, Begatu Chico Twala. So now the tone is more respectful, and I was like, oh, Tata Lorraine. And then she said that she didn't know how Chico Twala arrived at the hospital.
Yeah.
She just saw him arriving. So she doesn't know whether he came with a car and who he came with. So she said, I could see that he was also hurt. Ute begalimele emoyeni, meaning he was so hurt. He was distraught for our people who don't hear Zulu. I need to get these emphasis on these explanations. I don't want you to miss anything. So he leaned and slid down against the wall when he was told that Senzo had passed on.
And again, we have to give credit where it's due. That is sort of what we had before de novo.
Sounds like something from a movie screen.
Like, remember we even make that example of it, like a movie
Just
going down slow pace.
Then after some time, Pirates players arrived with Mandisa. Before de novo, the Pirates players arrived, then Mandisa arrived with their friends. But after de novo, Pirates players arrived with Mandisa, Senzo's wife. Today, she remembered that Mandisa is Senzo's wife. Atumfazi ka Senzo.
Yeah, not a girlfriend. You remember?
Not a girlfriend. The last time she was
a hoo-ha.
Yeah, remember before de novo, she didn't want to acknowledge Mandisa as Senzo's wife. She referred to her as his girlfriend.
And for those who do not understand why perhaps that could have been the case, at some point, I don't know, we were told that Dumi was there to actually initiate lobola negotiations. That was
the interview with the ENC.
Before load shedding. And then after load shedding, obviously now we have to respect and observe protocol. Who's wife, who's not wife.
And she says that they were friends of Mandisa. When they arrived inside, they pulled Kelly by her hair and hit her.
Now it's not Mandisa, right?
The last time she said Mandisa was the one fighting with Kelly, in fact, hitting her.
And we argued about that.
We
and people
really
were
argued.
Like, no.
I didn't believe it.
What if Mandisa is like that? And you were part of those people, right?
I was part of the people who didn't believe that is what happened. I didn't believe that Mandisa put her hands on Kelly.
Yes.
I didn't. I still don't.
I never believed
It's not that I know her personally, it's because I know the background of the story, especially the case that they had of assault. So Mandisa would have been one brave person to go and do that after they ganged up. Allegedly, they ganged up on Mandisa when she tried to confront Senzo.
It's alleged.
So I was like, Mandisa would be one brave. You have a pending court case and you put your hands on somebody you're going to court with. I don't see that happening. But we argued about it, and today it's been de novo. So today the friends of Mandisa are the ones who attacked Kelly and pulled her by her hair. So they said to Kelly, "You've eventually killed him." Baloyi then said to Zandi, "You may not disclose what they said. What happened further?" She said they pulled her by her hair and 2 cornrows fell down to the floor. She says she then went to Mandisa and told her that what they were doing was wrong because Senzo was not a person who liked umsindo or noise altercations or fights, in other words.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm like, Manje, you are putting Mandisa in. Kuri. You are putting her out by putting her in at the same time. Because why, when the friends are fighting, would you want to speak to Mandisa? So that's very interesting. So I was asking myself, Ungenapi Manju Mandisa, but she says that's how it happened. She was the mediator. Peacemaker. So before de novo, she said Mandisa is the one who hit Kelly. Yeah, we've already talked about that, which was very interesting in my opinion. It's one of those highlights that I was like, after all of those scandals that happened I don't remember even the year. I was reading the gossip pages a lot that time, magazines to be specific. And I know that story, and it didn't play down well. They even ended up in court. I even remember Senzo's mother showing up to support Mandisa at the courts. And I think the footage is there on the Netflix documentary. It was a mess. So then Kelly asked to go into the room where they kept Senzo, and she asked Zandi to accompany her. So Kelly spoke to Senzo and kissed his forehead and removed his earrings. And she says she also thinks that Senzo had on a watch, and she removed it. And then she said her goodbyes, and they left the room.
That's classic.
Like a scene
I have
from
to,
a romantic
I have
movie,
to say that's
Sana.
classic. Considering the fact that they were from the fight where someone was pulled through their hairs and whatnot, and then from there, that's very classic. Something that you should be seeing in movies most of the time.
This is the de novo version. The before de novo version, for those who care, the watch was not mentioned. It was mentioned by Tumelo.
Yeah, it was mentioned by Tumelo, yes. So there is a lot of, I would say, a lot of corroboration of what happened or what was said by different witnesses prior to de novo. And now we are seeing a bit of now and then, I would say, correction. Let's corroborate. They just sound like we're saying the same thing. That is for me, obviously. Some of the things that are said here, that's why they're going to be confusing us. They sound like a deja vu because we've heard them, but not by the same person. But now they are being said by now the current witness.
Yes.
So there's that confusion.
And another thing that also puzzled me is, where was Mandisa after she left Mandisa after being the peacemaker, and then now Kelly's asking them to accompany to see Senzo. Where's Mandisa?
As a wife now that
She's
is acknowledged,
the wife, remember.
would she allow that?
Was her moment? Did she notice that moment? Because she should have. She was the peacemaker who talked to Mandisa, who was called first between her and Mandisa to go and have access to seeing Senzo.
Let us remind you guys to please like the video and share the video. We have 585 people. Can we please push for at least 300 now? We will continue there. Emily, continue.
And another question I also have was, Tumelo is not really mentioned in the room of that whole romantic goodbye scene by Zandi. Because I was asking myself, where is Tumelo? Because Tumelo is the one who saw the removal of the watch, who testified about the removal of the watch, right? But we are not.
But all that what we are saying is useless in a sense because it is not admissible now. Tumelo can come and say something different.
I did not see
We
the
just
watch.
are in a public court where we can remind you what we do remember from the back of our heads.
So as they were outside, she said that they talked to those who were traveling with them, Mtogo and Tumelo. She says that they told them that they were leaving and they were going back home. And you could see that media was about to arrive. So I'm getting a sense that they didn't want to interact with the media. So she says that they got into the car, but Mtogozisi asked to remain behind because he knew Mandisa.
Why would they run away from the media, if I may ask? I mean, there's nothing wrong, right?
That they did.
You would like to spend more time with your loved one who has just passed on, and
Know what
you can be
happens
chased
from
by
the hospital.
you can
You'd
be
like
chased
to
by
track
media.
those types of things, that what's gonna happen after this.
You wait for that media. In case you don't even wait for it, while you are busy
You don't
dealing
have a
with
choice.
emotions and whatnot, so that you don't get in a car and drive while you are in serious emotions. Calm down and then you get in a car and drive like Mtogo
And you
did.
wanna know what's next, right? You wanna know what's next. Or maybe they were thinking Mandisa is there. There's no need for us to know what will be happening next to the body. So when they arrived home, they found that their home was cordoned off with yellow tapes at the gate. Baloyi displayed an exhibit for her to point the cordoning off, and Baloyi asked, "What time did you leave the hospital?" And Zandi said that she doesn't remember the exact time, but it was very late, around 11 going to midnight. She says that when we then got off the car and went under the tapes into the house, it was herself, Kelly, their mom, and Tumelo. So she says when we got inside the house, we found that the place was full of police officers who introduced themselves as such, or brigadier, Ntonton, Banbani, what. And there were many, and there were also neighbors there. There was also a lady who said that she was from a government department, even though she couldn't remember which one. She says they sat down and they spoke to them, and they said that they were sorry about what happened and asked them to be strong. But just before they entered the house, she says that she noticed that there was Senzo's phone under the stove in the kitchen. They asked where their phones were, and their mother said that she was charging hers on the stove in the kitchen, and it was still there. She says that when we looked around the house, I also noticed that there was something that looked like a burnt mark on the tiles. So remember, prior to De Novo, this was not mentioned. But on the floor, there was a burnt mark on the tiles. The kitchen door at the back was damaged. There was also a hat scotch on the floor in the kitchen, close to the stove sink, and a crutch that belonged to Tumelo that they had used to assault one of the intruders. So Zandi was being taken through a picture, of course, which the state has managed to block the Meyiwa family and the entire nation from seeing, depicting a hat, a crutch, and a yellow cone, which she said it was where she saw what that burnt mark looked like. So she also pointed out to an area next to the stove as to where they found Senzo's phone, and she said it was an iPhone 5. She also pointed to an area next to the fridge where there was a plug there and where her mother had been charging her phone. Baloyi then asked, "Yesterday you testified that you felt something hitting the floor and you felt a spark going off, hitting you on your foot." Zandi said yes and pointed where she was standing, when they were about to enter the passage. That's where she was standing, she testified. And then Baloyi asked, "Did you sustain any injuries?" And then Zandi said that there was a little small mark that bleeded a little. A small mark that bleeded a little.
It would be interesting to know what she was wearing at the time, because I remember there was a change of clothing. To what, pants. So
what kind of shoes was she wearing?
Not even shoes. I'm saying in terms of what could have hit her. Perhaps it could have hit the pants, and how much of a damage would have that done? Maybe from the tire, right? So yeah, it will be interesting. But and one thing that we have since established is that whatever that was used after that to remove the wound is clearly working, and I think it must be suggested for some of us who've got wounds and would like to make sure that they disappear.
Well, then Advocate Baloyi asked, did you receive any medical treatment for that? Then Zandi said, no, I just put on a plaster. And to think that the state added to that is another case of attempted murder. They added that charge of that small scar or whatever it was. But then Advocate Baloyi asked, is there any mark where you were injured? And she also, Advocate Baloyi asked to show the court where she was injured. Okay, and then I got from a source from the SABC saying that she was pointing to the ankle area of the right leg.
Okay.
Ankle area of the right leg. That's where she pointed. We didn't get to see it, remember. And then she says, I went into my bedroom and one that is in front of the kitchen. I then took a warm jacket. And then I asked myself, what happened to the tracksuit? Then she said, we also looked for the children because as busy as it was, we didn't know where the children were. She went into the bedroom and found that their mother had left them with a neighbor, a lady neighbor. Then the police said, since it was already late, they should go to the station the following day in the morning to give statements. The other thing that they were still very much emotional for them to speak properly. So they couldn't speak properly and give their statements then because they were emotional. So the police were like, come to the station the next day early in the morning.
Nice life problems, man. Yeah. And Mr. Anonymous would have been dragged with those emotions to that police station, probably sitting behind that van or whatsoever. But hey, I guess Animal Farm.
Hey, you don't say. Some of us were dragged. Forced.
Yeah.
Okay, so by now, I was also starting to sense that heavy breathing again. I knew that the crying was coming. Then Zandi then says that they took a couple of things, especially for the kids. They took their clothes and their toiletries so that they could go and sleep at Kelly's place at Malberton to spend the night there. She says we then went to Malberton with the police escorting us.
Wait, I think we are jumping something here. Before that, there was a questioning of Longwe when after Longwe pushed that guy.
Oh, no, I'm still coming there.
Yeah, continue though.
I'm still coming there. So it was very late. She didn't look at the time. Then Baloyi asked that they take a short break or should they proceed. And then Judge Mokgoatlheng was like, proceed. There's no tea here in Pretoria.
Oh, those words were music in my ear. From there, I knew me and the judge, probably the judge could be my father. That I don't know. Exactly what I was thinking. Crush that tea. After 5 minutes that you took, I mean, that's your tea.
It was so nice. It felt so good. She says, we then arrived at the house. We sat there for a while. Then we went to sleep. Baloyi asked who slept at the house at Malberton on that day. Zandi said, myself, Kelly, and the kids. My mother, Longwe, and Tumelo. Hebana. Longwe was there. Well, actually, we didn't really sleep because it was very difficult. That's what Zandi said. Zandi was asked after Longwe had pushed the gunman and ran again, or ran outside after pushing the gunman. Did she see him? But was Zandi confused
After that
question?
Yes.
She got confused for that question about the gunman, and she responded, and she said she never saw him again, not even among the accused in court. She totally went off script.
Talking about the accused
Now. And I asked myself, are you even listening to the questions? Then she said she couldn't see the other one. She could only see the second taller intruder amongst the ones who were in the court. Lorraine was ready to point again, guys.
Yeah, she did.
Then Baloyi reminded her that they were talking about Longwe. Zandi then said, no, Longwe stayed at home for a while, for days.
Here we go. That's very interesting.
For days.
Here we go. That's what I was waiting for.
Baloyi
From there,
asked,
I just started having chest pains because that's what I was waiting for. Continue.
I'm like, for days. Then Baloyi asked, did you see him that evening? If so, when did you see him? Then Zandi said at home, when he came back from the hospital, he came into the house. Yes, she saw him at the hospital. Now, after he left the house, when the intruders came in, when did you see him again? For the first time. That's Baloyi now asking. And then Zandi said, I saw him when he arrived at the hospital with my mother. At Malbatten, we stayed for days, but I remember that on the second day after the incident, the police came to fetch us, telling us to go write statements. It was the 27th, the next day. After the 26th, it was on a Monday, the next day. But she said on the was it the second day? So the incident happened on Sunday. On Monday, they went to the police station. The police fetched them to make their statements. Weren't they told that in the morning they need to go to the police station and give their statements? Why did they need to be fetched? That to me is not giving.
I mean, you were accompanied. You were accompanied to your bed, and why not be accompanied back
to the police
to
station?
the police station? I mean, as I said, it's.
Why wait for the police to come and fetch you?
It's different treatment, man.
Okay. She says we then went to give our statements. They said they would like to take our fingerprints and also take our DNA. They also asked us to assist in drawing an identikit of the intruders. I was the first to give a statement. I was then taken to a room to help with an identikit of the intruders. Then there was another 5-minute adjournment. After the adjournment, Zandi came back and continued and said during the sketching of the identity kit, she noticed that there were those who contributed to the sketch before her. And she also gave her contribution to the parts that she could remember. It was for the one with the dreadlocks that was wearing a hat, and the second one who was wearing a hoodie. She saw the one with the hoodie when they entered the house and stood at the passage. Baloyi asked her to give a description of the intruders. Zandi said the first one was not tall. He was in the middle. He had dreadlocks up to his neck. He also had a hat on and pointed to the photo that it was the hat that was on the photo. She says he had big eyes that were protruding outside and had facial contours. It's as if his bones showed. He had shiny skin. Baloyi then asked in the description of the second one, Zandi says the second one was tall and slim in body, wore a hoodie, and had a trimmed beard around his mouth.
In a nutshell, the first sketch explained, you probably would not put it far from Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes,
Yeah.
because Wesley Snipes are...
And the eyes are protruding.
We don't know. Then she said that's what she could recall. And then Baloyi asked, you said that when you called to assist with the features on the identity kit, what did you add? Zandi said the first one, she added the eyes, the big eyes that were protruding. She fixed the eyebrows and added the shiny skin, as well as the hat and the contours. She meant bones and visible jaws. The judge asked what she meant by contour. Is she talking about cheekbones, the forehead? And Zandi said, no, I'm talking about the cheekbones, the forehead, and the jaw that appeared and were distinctive, visible.
Well,
with the second one, she says that she explained that he was tall and had a beard. She also added his complexion. He was not light and he was not dark.
okay.
That's all. From there, the police informed them that they would take their DNA. They wanted to distinguish between the people that got into the house, the intruders, and them. So, yeah, that was very interesting. The description of this second intruder in particular, it's all very interesting.
But what is interesting for me is maintaining the status quo. How do you keep on saying one thing over and over again without deviating from what you said? What I saw today is that fatigue, when it creeps in, you might lose some certain lines.
Especially if
even on the line of questioning, there was a bit of, for me, oh, whatever, man.
Let's just get this over and done with.
Exactly.
She says they also took their fingerprints again. That was it for the day. They went home. The police would come to update them, asking if they were okay and telling us that they were still busy at the house. They were still investigating. So after a couple of days, they came and said that there were people that they had arrested and they should come and identify. She said, I can't remember the exact day, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but it was during that week. She says when we got there, they asked to go in one by one to see if there was anyone we could identify. It was a police station in Johannesburg in town.
Yeah.
The people I was with were my mother, myself, Kelly, and Tumelo, and a family friend by the name of Knox. So Baloyi asked, before you attended the parade, in what room were you kept? And Zandi said we were kept in a room with chairs in it. We didn't know what the room was used for, but we got there and sat there. From that room, she could not see where the parade was being held. The officer told her to say what she saw. When she saw through the glass, she saw that there was a person who almost looked like the one with the dreads. And the police told her to say what she saw. She said that even though that person had dreadlocks and contours, but it was not him. Now this person they're talking about is Mokgoatlheng Bata, allegedly.
Yeah.
The one who they identified, and he was
Senzo's car wash.
And is currently suing the state. I don't know how that case is going, but he's currently suing the state.
He definitely should win.
And to think that he was also washing Senzo's car prior to Senzo passing on.
And seemingly people forgot.
Something is fishy there. And then she says...
So imagine when you are there, and it's a good thing maybe that you don't see who's pointing at you. Only to find that it's a person that you have maybe at some point asked a 1 rand or 2 rand from because he was chilling with Senzo.
Yeah. She says, I then went out, and as I walked out, I saw amongst those who were held there that there was no one, because when you walk out, it leaves your mind, or it lives in your mind. I don't understand what she was saying there.
So it dwells there, it never leaves. It's a memory that you cannot take off.
Then Advocate Baloyi asked, did you point any person or did you say the words? And Zandi said, I asked that he comes closer so that I can look at him carefully because they were far. Now, in my mind, I'm asking myself, at any point in time, especially because you got the privilege of asking for him to come closer so that you can really look at him. At any point in time, couldn't you recognize that this was the man who was washing Senzo's car? Who was more of a neighbor to you than he was to Senzo himself? She says, then I saw that he almost looked similar.
It would be interesting
but
to
it's
ask.
not him.
It would be interesting to ask, and who is that person that you wanted to come closer to the window? Who's that person? To hear what the answer would be, and if the answer is the name of a person,
With
and then
dreads?
do you know the person prior that? Have you encountered that person prior that?
Well, Baloyi tried to maneuver that. He tried to maneuver it. I noticed it. He said, I then moved so that others can go in and look. So Baloyi asked, was there a way you could identify the people who were there in the parade? As in, like, they had numbers on, number 1, number 2, or something like that. And Zandi said, yes, there were numbers. She mentioned number 2. I was comparing number 2 to the person with the dreadlocks, the first intruder. Then Baloyi asked, were there other persons in the parade as well? Zandi said, yes, there were. So Baloyi asked more or less, how many were there? Then Zandi said she couldn't remember the exact number, but there were quite many. So from there, we went out and they told us that we were free to go home. So Baloyi asked, after your identification parade, were there others who still had to go in after you? Yes, there was, said Zandi. Baloyi asked, did you communicate with those persons after attending the parade? And Zandi said, after we were done on our way home, we just asked each other if there was anyone we'd seen, and everyone said no. Baloyi then said, as you were leaving the room, where were you taken to after leaving the parade? Then from there, I started feeling like Advocate Baloyi is starting that thing of his of asking redundant questions that really wear me out, in my opinion. I was getting a sense of slowness again. I was feeling it. I was like, some of these questions, how are they going to help you, sir? Prove the case. Then Zandi said they took me outside to what's outside, but we never went back to that room where they were at. So Advocate Baloyi asked, did you make any contact with the person who still had to attend the parade? Then Zandi said no, after the parade they went home. After some time, she was not sure whether it was after weeks or months, but Longwe and her were requested to go to the police station.
Emily, just suppose 730 people. Can we have the likes, please, guys? Please, can we have those likes? 735. Thank you very much for joining us. We are here. We are live. That's what we do. We do this case with patience.
With patience, guys. With patience. So Baloyi then said, do you remember which police station? Then Zandi said, I just remember we drove for a long time towards Pretoria. When we got there, they asked us to enter another room where we were interrogated with questions. So this time around, they went to be interrogated in Pretoria. Longwe was in another room and I was in another room. It would be interesting to find out whether they were still in a relationship or not around this time. Because, yeah, it's very interesting. And then they asked for our phones again. And the second time that they would bring them back. So Baloyi asked, if you say for the second time, were they previously requested? And Zandi said, yes. On the day of the statements, they took our phones. So Baloyi asked, did you explain as to why they were taking your phones? Then Zandi said, no, they just said they wanted information inside our phones. Then they took them and we separated and went home. In February 2018, they were called to the police station again to make additional statements at Vosloorus police station, and they were again put in separate rooms. It was herself, Kelly, her mother, and they were told that others were either coming or were there. In the room, it was 4 or 5 male police officers and 1 female. So they were interrogated until around 9 p.m.
Okay.
So she says, we then went home after the statements were taken. Then Advocate Baloyi asked, do you know the female police officer who was present there? And I was like, okay, why single out the female police officer? Why not ask, do you know any of the police officers? Why particularly the female police officer is of interest to the state? Why?
I think it goes to that story of, I think it's Joyce or something. That's allegedly my thinking.
I'm like, why? What is the point of this question? But we move. Then after a long time, they were called in for a lie detector test. She says she couldn't remember, maybe 2018 or 2019 or even 2017. It's very interesting that they did a lie detector test. Very, very interesting. So in that room, it was just herself and a white, tall, huge-built man. He put ropes around her and asked her questions. She says, I then finished. He said nothing much. Then he said, Miss Khumalo, you can leave. Baloyi then asked, were you informed of the outcome of the lie detector test? And Zandi said no. So after a while again, I think it was another year, they were told to come to the house where the incident happened to do role playing. It's very interesting as well that they don't know the results of, she says she doesn't know the outcome of the lie detector test.
Don't you think that the lie detector test was done for 375?
Because it's very interesting that she doesn't know the outcome.
I don't think it's 363.
636.
636.
She said, my mother and Kelly were waiting at Mapiri's house. So she entered. When I got inside, the officer was there and said amongst the people she came with. So this police officer came with a bunch of people and they said that, okay, now they need to, she needs to see this one as Senzo, the one as the intruder. They were literally role-playing characters of the people that were in the house. So she says, then we went into the house. There were props like the hat and things like that. So she says we were asked to get into the house and I had to explain to them. I stood here and so stood there and the intruders and so on. That was what she did. And the next person followed as she went back to Mapiri's house. And then when they were done, they went back home and that's it. And Baloyi then asked, were there any other developments regarding this matter? At the beginning, they would tell them that there was nothing, that there was something happening. Then as time went on, they no longer contacted them. She says that she doesn't know whether it was her because she was now residing in Durban. Okay. So she had moved from residing in Johannesburg to residing in Durban. So the updates were no longer coming around that time. We're going to take it as 2018, right? Baloyi then asked, you perhaps know if there was another docket opened. Then Zandi said, no, I would hear on the news, but I was not told by anyone. Baloyi then asked, do you know if there were any charges against any person who was in the house? And then Zandi said, no, I don't know. The judge then asked the question is not clear, or rather told Advocate Baloyi that the question is not clear. It has a double meaning. He has to specify.
Yeah.
So then Baloyi said that, or re-asked the question and said, are there any charges that were preferred against you? And then Zandi said, no. So Baloyi then asked, do you know if there was any documentary made of the incident? In Genapi documentary, Mr. Anonymous.
I think the financial gain and whatnot, that might be us. As I said, now it's basically ironing out what went wrong initially.
Oh, then Zandi said, yes, I know there was a documentary, but I was not a part of it. It was a Netflix documentary on Senzo's life and what happened on that night. As to who the producer was, I don't know. Then Baloyi asked, were you approached to be part of the Netflix documentary? Then Zandi said, yes, many times, but I
Which
refused.
would have made sense. I mean, she's got the character.
Maybe it would have helped even with the music career. Who knows?
Also, maybe that deal in your music.
You know, and remind. It was a huge platform, but you said no. And then Baloyi then asked, did you participate in any TV interviews regarding the incident? Then Zandi said her job required her to do interviews. And what she doesn't have control over is the questions that are put to her. But she answers where she's able to.
It's very funny that she's just passing that question like that, while at some point she was alluding to Senzo's mother being, for the lack of a better word, using voodoo and all that.
No, put it direct, Mr. Anonymous.
Muti.
She literally went on live television
and
called Senzo's mother a witch. That's what she did. And we were all watching and disgusted. But very interesting. And then she also asked, why is Mandisa not being interrogated like they were being interrogated? Ungenapi, what do you know about Mandisa that we don't know? It looks
very
like you want to say
interesting.
something.
It is interesting, and I find it very funny that all of a sudden the blame must be put on media for blindsiding her when they called her
No, she
for
was
an
not
interview.
blindsided.
Isn't it her?
I was even frustrated with the person interviewing her. Remember, Mr. Anonymous? I was frustrated with Slindelo.
It looked like a
It looked
cleanup.
like she just sat there and did not ask her and gave her a stage to perform.
We did talk about that. There's even a video, in fact.
We did the video on the channel, guys. Yo, it was bad. Then Zandi then said, yes, there were a couple of them. And then there was one that she did with ENCA. And the others were radio interviews. So the fact that those interviews, Mr. Anonymous, in my opinion, have not been submitted by the defense counsels as part of their strategy to defend their clients is worrying me. It's still something I don't understand to this day, or maybe the South African law works different, but I guess as a state, right?
You can subpoena these things.
Can you?
You can. Why not?
Why are they not doing it?
You just need to motivate where do you see these things going.
Then Advocate Baloyi said the ENCA interview, do you remember when it took place? And she said it happened last year around June, July. And then Baloyi asked, do you know if the previous proceedings were underway at the time? And then Zandi said, yes, the proceedings were underway at the time. Yes, they were underway at the time. That's why we were so upset. So Baloyi then asked, did the interviewer explain to you why you had to do an interview when the case was in court? Ungenaphi interviewer lapho ngoba interviewer ufuna story.
Yeah, exactly.
Where does the interviewer get involved in here? That's not her job. Her job is to get an interview from Zandi. It's not to explain to her what the court
is going to say when.
Ungenaphi usli lapho. How? What?
Right, Usli. That interview, I didn't get it. I was not happy about it, so it's okay.
And then Zandi said no. Then Baloyi asked, you mentioned that there was damage to the kitchen door. Where was this damage? And then Zandi said behind the door. She pointed where the gentleman with the dreads was fighting for the gun with Senzo. And Baloyi wanted her to explain their respective positions where they were standing. And Zandi said the one with the dreads, their back was against Isvalo, the door of the kitchen. Him and Senzo were facing each other, and Senzo was facing the door. So Baloyi then asked, at what point did you see them in those respective positions? And Zandi said it was around the time they were fighting with them in the kitchen, and Senzo was wrestling with them for the gun. So Baloyi then asked, going back to the identity parade, the officer that you referred to who explained to you must do at the parade, did you see if he was taking any notes? Baloyi, with these questions that to me were very frustrating. Then Zandi said no, she didn't see. Okay, and I'm asking myself, how is this relevant to helping the state's case?
Look, at the end of the day, just to put a summary in this. I saw from the beginning when the questions were being posed that we are not going to cross-examine today. So all that is happening, it was just
heavy, man.
yeah, for me, just without
So
wasting.
like, what's the point? Why are you asking this? I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything. But how is this helping your witness? But then Baloyi then said, after the suspects accused were arrested, you afforded any opportunity to identify them? Then Zandi said, no. Do you remember if you stated in your statements whether you'd be in a position to identify them? Then Zandi said that in her statement, she mentioned that she saw the alleged intruders and she would be able to identify them. Ngasho ngathi, yabona ke bayaqala ke manje. They're pulling that same stunt again. And then Baloyi said, ever since that day, have you seen the people who intruded or entered the house? And then Zandi said, only here in court. Then Baloyi, can you explain? Then she said, as I sit in the court, I see this one pointing at accused number 2. So breaking news, she pointed again. But this time it wasn't a big hoo-ha. Then Baloyi asked, this which person? She said, accused number 2, suspect number 2. Then Baloyi said, by suspect number 2, what do you mean? Zandi said, suspect number 2 is the one who wore a hoodie following the one with the dreadlocks. So this is Bongani Ntanzi, the one who now is eligible to apply for bail. It's been pointed again. Allegedly. Well, it's not even alleged, but he's supposed to apply for bail, doesn't he? Then Baloyi then asked, are there any specific features that enabled you to say that accused number 2 was the one in the house? And then Zandi said, on that day, as I explained, I took the crutch and Tumelo and I were trying to assault one of them, and it was him. I looked at him very well. Then Baloyi asked, how far were you from him? And then Zandi said, our kitchen is very small, as you have seen in the previous pictures. The stove is close to the sink and the sink is close to the door. So I was very close. Baloyi then asked, do you remember the features, his whole face, his body and his height? Then Zandi said, I remember his whole face and his structure and height as he's standing. The facial features, okay? What about those? Then Baloyi said, did you know accused number 2 before the incident? Then Zandi said, no, I didn't know him. So Baloyi asked, you mentioned that you bought some alcohol refreshments at Kwembo's place. Did you partake yourself in those alcoholic refreshments? And Zandi said, yes, I partook. I was drinking guarana. I took 3 because I was sharing with Kaylee. I was not drunk at all. So she said she was sober. She pointed the guarana on one of the exhibits that she was drinking on the photo, comparing it to a Heineken can. And she said, as you can see, the guarana tin is much smaller than the Heineken one. So Baloyi then asked, the cell phone you say the intruder took, was it ever recovered? Then Zandi said, no, it was never found. But there was a person going around asking for money. They even asked if they asked it from her, sending her messages, pretending to be Kaylee.
Where is that phone? Hey, where is that phone that she got that message on? Very interesting to have such things.
So they asked, when did that happen? And Zandi said, a week after the incident. So what model was the phone? Samsung S4. She didn't know the value of the phone. So Zandi asked, how was the relationship between Zandi and Longwe? And then Zandi said, it was very good. Herself and Longwe, everything was good. When did they break up, guys?
For now, let's leave it for Longwe. We will deal with that when Longwe is here.
Then there was a long adjournment, court resumed, and then there was silence. Lorraine was missing in action. But Judge Baloyi asked, where's your witness? Okay, Judge asked Baloyi, where's your witness? Baloyi came back to say that he's asking for an adjournment briefly. There is an issue that needed to be sorted out. And then the judge asked Baloyi, okay, fine, I'll sit here. You can go. I don't think it will be an issue regarding the accommodation of the witness. Baloyi was saying that there's an issue with the accommodation of the witness. They'd been trying to resolve with the court manager since yesterday regarding how the witness was being accommodated. And the judge asked, but she gave evidence just now. What's the problem? Baloyi said there were problems thereafter. if we can just adjourn. Let's see if we can't sort that out. Then the judge asked how many minutes. Then Baloyi said 5 minutes. So the court adjourned. But it didn't adjourn for 5 minutes. It was a lot more than that. I heard some people estimating 18 minutes or something like that. But then Griselda Lewis of the SABC said that while they were waiting in the corridors, Advocate Baloyi had gone somewhere in the courthouse to where Zandi was. So after the adjournment, Zandi came back and she was back on the stand. Advocate Baloyi said, "We apologize that the brief took longer than expected. After consulting with the defense, we have agreed that the matter should be postponed subject to the approval of the court." Then Judge Mokgoatlheng asked, "Why do you want to adjourn?" Baloyi said, "Firstly, the witness is not feeling well." Judge Mokgoatlheng asked, "What's wrong with her?" Then Baloyi said, "I think she is here. She can explain." The judge asked, "Haven't you consulted with her?" Baloyi said, "Yes, I did. She told me that she's not, because these problems that are being encountered regarding the accommodation, she's not psychologically ready to proceed today." The judge asked, "So when will the problems be solved?" Baloyi said, "That's one of the reasons why I took longer. I was speaking to the court manager and she promised to look into that." The judge asked, "I was speaking with your assistant and he told me that the same problem arose in the past." So it looks like it's a reputational thing, yeah, Advocate Baloyi, that he, okay, because if it happened in the past, why couldn't he prepare better this time? And then the judge said, "Me, I'm old school. I can't tolerate this type of behavior. A person comes to court, gives evidence when she must be cross-examined, a problem arises, which has got nothing to do with the running of the court. How is that possible?" Then Baloyi said, "It is beyond our control." Then judge said, "And then I'm told, we must adjourn," you know? Is Baloyi trying to frustrate the judge, Mr. Anonymous?
Remember what I said about this judge. From me, he's not gonna be most people's favorite. From the defense point of view, to everyone who's there, because there's always that agreement, and the judge remains alone. It's like the judge is fighting for what is right.
So what would have been interesting to ask in those 18 minutes as you were attending to your clients, you also managed to speak to the defense counsel?
Exactly. Such things. I mean, and they go out? Unfortunately.
They went out.
So those are the things that we have to look at. And for a judge that is on point, a judge that is mindful of time, you should be excited to get someone who's willing to listen to you beyond the time that is stipulated. For example, someone who fights for time wastage, someone who really wants to see this as a defense. You should be happy.
Well,
but what did I say? What did I say the last time? That if this judge is going to be this judge that we were told about, which now we're seeing exactly. Other people, they say they've seen this judge in action already.
Yes.
And it is what we're seeing now. So we are going to have a lot of problems, I'm telling you. Because the question is, who's losing there? And I will repeat this. A person who loses there is a person who only has this case as the reason why is detained. That's the only person. And I would expect that particular person who's representing those people who are like that to have a sense of urgency, to differ most of the things that are seemingly delaying the case. That would be I think that is that even the judge was asking, when you are left alone, anything from the defense.
What do you think?
And obvious, silence. The order of the day, Mshololo says we are fine, and everyone we're fine.
It was crickets, and I'm like,
But continue. Tell us the story of the judge.
Well, the judge asked the defense, "What do you say?" Then Mshololo was the first one to get up and say, "No objection, my lord." Then Mnisi followed, Khumalo, and Ramasipili didn't say anything. And I'm like, what do you do as a client to lawyers who are like this? Now I would panic. I don't want to lie. I'd be like, why are you so calm and relaxed? This is an opportunity to object. Why are you not taking it? Then the judge said, what's wrong with you? Asking Lorraine. She said she had pain on her chest. So they postponed the case to 10 o'clock until tomorrow. And the judge said, will the accommodation problems be solved by then? And Baloyi said that they will be resolved, hopefully, judge. Hopefully. He's saying they will be resolved, hopefully. Then Judge Mokgoatlheng said, let me tell you what I once did. When I was sitting in a matter, it's about 15 years back, I had some accused who came to court and one of them suddenly got sick because maybe he was supposed to be cross-examined. And what happened is then he said he had some problems physically and he said that the prosecutor must go get in touch with the district surgeon. And Baloyi, funny enough, knew about this case. He knows about it because he could say, I remember. Then they told Judge Mokgoatlheng the district surgeon is somewhere else and the three of them are not present. So the prosecutor told Judge Mokgoatlheng that in terms of government regulations, you can't hire a private doctor because you'd need 3 quotations from a private doctor. Then you take the least expensive one. That's the one you take. And guess what Judge Mokgoatlheng did? Okay? He says, I got a private doctor to examine the gentleman and I even undertook the payment. The private doctor came from Carlton Center to the court, examined the gentleman and pronounced that he is stressed because he's undergoing a trial. But after that, the case went on in Tagabao.
We are buffering.
I was like, yes. Then Baloyi said that he was certain that from tomorrow on, there won't be any further delays of this nature.
Yeah. I'm hoping that you guys can still hear the end of the court proceedings. Yes, we're back. I'm hoping that you guys heard everything.
And that story killed me. I'm like, Judge Mokgoatlheng, you did what? You called on a private doctor to examine so that you can continue doing your job, sir?
Here we go again. We are buffering, but it's time for calls. For those who have calls, who've got something to say, sorry. If you've got something to say, you can now start calling. But as you can see, we are at that state of buffering. Yeah. So the line is open.
Guys, the lines are open. You can call. Now. I know I took a long time, but there was a lot to go through. I'm so sorry. I was like, what? Judge Mokgoatlheng, you did what?
While we were doing that, luckily, Mzansi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Mzansi Reality, hello?
Yes, it is Mzansi, we're here. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Mr. Anonymous and Emily?
We're good.
We are good.
I hope you guys can hear me.
We definitely can hear you.
Yeah, but, okay. So, I have a problem with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But ngizokhuluma ngale kaNtanzi.
Yeah.
So, okay, angazi ngiqala. But when Baloyi asked ukuthi Lorraine has done interviews on Netflix, what, can we use such things in court to ask her as the defense?
Yes. That's what we
because
want.
If you submitted them, yes.
Okay, that would be interesting because since she did say ukuthi she did those interviews, so then ngalesikhathi ekhuluma noSilindelo kuleya interview yabo le eculo labo, she did mention ukuthi I can't recognize any of those men. Kodwa uyasitshela namhlanje ukuthi no, I can point them whenever I see them. Kodwa still yena the same person owathi akababoni uthi uqala ubona Ntanzi ecourt. How is that true? Because Ntanzi, didn't we see Ntanzi when they got arrested? Wasn't he in the news?
Baye bamlwela abanye bathi no bekathe uthe bafaka ama-mask. It was during COVID times, but because she was doing the interview during trial, their faces had already been shown. Yini bengafuna ukusho ukuthi now that was the job of the journalist to ask ukuthi since now you can see them, they are on trial, which one of them do you recognize? And that's where we got frustrated with the interview, Mr. Anonymous and I, because that was an opportunity to ask which ones did you recognize?
Yeah. So she didn't recognize because umengabe uthi wambona babegqoka ama-mask kodwa umengabe bembuza namanje still she can't say ukuthi because umbuzile ubalo ukuthi what is it that made you say uyena lo nje usumbona manje. She still couldn't answer that. So Ntanzi shame unebad and ngiyamthandazela yazi.
Hi.
Yeah. And the other matters ngizovele ngaye ngiyekela abanye abantu if bekhona.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, cool, thank you. Yeah, today we're on, guys. Keep them coming. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. If you are not part of this community, what are you waiting for? Like the video, subscribe.
I am begging for likes.
And then also subscribe. Let's push these numbers up. Let's break these records wherever we can. When we can. Zanzi, hello.
Okay, well, thank you.
Zanzi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Am I live already?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Greetings, Emily. Greetings, Mr. Anonymous.
Hi.
I think I want to call before. So I just wanna talk about three things here. What I've noticed in this case.
Okay.
This case is quite very interesting, and I think what is going to happen is going to be very shocking because I don't know if you guys went on and checked this judge how he operates. I once watched when he was doing the case of that guy the what do you call, he was intelligent, some guy.
Yes.
Right. So that guy, before he gave a judgment, if you look specifically the judgment, that guy, he is a judge that pays a lot of attention. And he can point a lot of contradiction that happens in his court. He's a very focused guy. Because when he talks, he gives that judgment, he first narrates everything, a little thing that happened during the court, during the trial. So he goes to the pen and the pencil and everything. So before he gives handed over the judgment, I remember there he once mentioned about the scene and the ballistic not done. He mentioned a lot of things. Before he doesn't even read. He says from his head. This one says, this one denied this, without even reading down. So that was a very interesting moment. The guy is actually very good.
Yeah.
So now, that was just the point of the judge. Looking at this case, so I wanted to talk about the judge, and the next point, I wanted to talk about Zandi contradiction. I've already seen, because you know sometimes, Mr. Anonymous, when you're talking the truth doesn't change.
Yeah.
The truth will remain the same. If the color is blue, it will remain blue until the end.
Yes.
So in this case, what I've realized when Zandi is giving the testimony, she's talking about when the intruder came in, and then she says now, previously on the other court, she said, on the previous trial, she said Longer was the first one to stand up and push the intruder and ran outside. This time around, she changed 360 degrees. She says, no, we all stood up and pushed the intruder. For me, it was like, oh, okay. Now everything takes actually where the statement that she made previously, it's not aligning with what she's saying now. At the court, I'm referring at the court.
At the court, yes.
Because I'm just praying for her that the statement she made on the she gave her the police station at the time, it's aligning with what she's saying now.
Yes.
Because that will come to play when she's cross-examined. Then I was like, okay, this woman, she thinks she's so smart.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about with Anonymous, it's a letter.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion, obviously. So the letter, when she wrote a letter, it came to my mind. I know you guys discussed the letter before.
Yeah.
About how it shook. Everybody started talking about it. But for me, I thought about something else. This lady, she thinks she's smart. She knew that they are bringing the retired judge. You know what will happen when they bring the retired judge? The retired judge is only focusing on this case, nothing else. When he's done, he's going back to retirement.
Yeah.
So now, right. So now the judge is coming in. She knew very well that, okay, the new judge is coming, and I'm sure she already knew the name. She went on and checked YouTube and checked everything, how the kind of person he is. Then she wrote a letter to the president. What is, in my opinion, what she's trying to imply, she's implying that, look, this is the letter, blah, blah, blah. I want the case to be speedy and so forth, so that it can fit. Obviously, she's doing the opposite now of what she wrote. Anyway, I'm not there. So what I'm there, she's writing a letter to prepare the future. Because I can tell you this case is going to take a very big U-turn. I don't think this judge, the way he analyzed things, is going to do not see it coming. I don't. This guy is not buying any face. He's not a guy that you can come with a brown envelope. He's a very strict person.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
So the letter she's writing, she's preparing a future. Should anything goes wrong, I am protected. We tried the Khumalos to give an evidence. That's what he's going to say if things get a U-turn and they are the one on the other side of the floor.
Yeah.
If things take a U-turn, yeah, we tried, we complied, we did this, we wrote a letter even to the president, we did. That's what he's going to come and say. So she's preparing the worst. Most probably, that's how I saw it. Maybe it wasn't much to do with, because she was already telling us what we already know on that letter. That letter wasn't saying anything, basically. So, another thing, this guy, Mr. Ntanzi, why are they pointing Mr. Ntanzi? Everybody's asking, why is pointing Mr. Ntanzi? Mr. Ntanzi is pointing for one thing only. Mr. Ntanzi, when the police arrested him, I'm sure that this arrangement happened before they arrested him. There was a money, if I followed it, even on the transformation, that guy was promised money for the family and so forth if he pleads guilty for this trial. They still relying on that, even though I think everything already took a U-turn. So now, Baloyi, I think he knows that whatever that was planned is no longer going according to the plan. Everything changed because Mr. Ntanzi never pleaded guilty.
Yeah. So
now they pointing him because there was an agreement.
Okay, cool. No, I'm gonna have to
so that
cut.
he can implicate the others.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut here because I've got a lot of buzzing people.
A lot of calls are coming.
Okay, no problem.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
But it's
yeah. So let me see. I'm just gonna.
I remember the interview with ENCA where Zandi was like, "We've done everything."
Zanzi, hello. Zanzi, hello. Hello.
We've done everything to cooperate.
I tried.
And now the previous caller.
Zanzi, hello.
The previous caller is like, maybe even that letter is part of
Zanzi, hello.
strategy.
Good evening.
Evening.
Hi, how are you?
She wrote a letter.
We can hear the previous caller.
My opinion on what she's trying to imply that, look,
Switch off the background.
Come back when the background is switched off.
Switch it off. The
Ntanzi, hello.
TV.
Hello? Zanzi, hello.
Let me get out that.
Zanzi, hello. Okay. I try to answer. Zanzi, hello.
Yeah, the previous call.
Zanzi, hello. I can hear myself. I just passed. Zanzi, hello.
Hello, Mr. Anonymous and Emily. How are you?
How are you,
Hi,
sir?
how are you?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
You're live.
I'm okay.
Good, good.
Yes, let me shoot. There are a few things I wanted to address. Yesterday, I wrote an SMS indicating that I have a problem with the case having to restart
Yes.
and the people having to be recalled to give the recent testimony.
Yeah.
And at the time when the case was cut, it was clear that these people are lying. Everyone could see that there is no truth in what they are saying.
Yeah.
So the state decided to cut the case so that they can restart. And these people can be given opportunity to correct their mistakes.
Yeah.
So I'm having a problem with the law if that evidence that they gave under oath will be used today. Because you were talking about Zandi and other people having to be interviewed elsewhere.
Yeah.
Where they were not under oath. You are saying that such information, they can be subpoenaed, then the information be brought to court so that it can be used as evidence. Where they were free, where they were not under oath. Why can't we subpoena the evidence that they gave under a judge under oath?
That is the question.
Yeah, but I think it's in this case, once you accept that then you are killing everything that existed on that case. I mean, as a sane person yourself, I mean, if I was a judge, obviously I would go through some of the things just to make sure that I take a proper decision. Obviously, I would not use it when I'm handing out judgment, but I don't think that anyone will see you if you go through these things. But to refer to it, then that's where the problem is.
But I think it needs to be subpoenaed and be referred to, because these people, it's the same as giving a statement, because they stood up and they were under oath and say, we're going to tell the truth. So we can't say that which they told under oath can be used today under oath. That's why I'm having a problem with the law of South Africa. Because I can say something under oath, and when the state realizes that the case, they're going to lose the case, they will restart the case utilizing the law, because it allows them, whatever that I said that was wrong, it get to be forgotten.
They will tell you it doesn't happen most often, and it hasn't. Indeed, it hasn't. This is probably in our lifetime, once in a lifetime.
I think let me give other people time, but I have a problem with that. These people were supposed to account for what they said under oath. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah, no,
it can be through statements, it can be through courts, through anywhere. As long as it was under oath, they need to account for that.
No, I get you.
Now, thanks for the time there.
Thank you very much.
The law is the law.
That's what they say. This person has been trying to call. She's been failing. I'm going to try myself. Maybe my internet is going to allow. Zanzi, hello. It's her internet. Zanzi, hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
I'm good. We are good, I think. Can you just
okay.
Yeah, let's hear you summarizing it for us.
Yes, the case is very interesting now. The reason is Zandile said yesterday she's sick because you can see now that this judge is not playing.
Yes.
And also Baloyi, I don't think he's going to defend these people anymore. Because I see the way that he looked at Zandile. So he can already see that he's going to lose the case. And the judge just told them the little story that there is other guy also tried the same thing. He said he's sick. They took him to the doctor and etc. The doctor said nothing wrong with him. It's just a stress.
Yes.
And Baloyi said, okay, my lord, it's not going to happen again from now on. So, meaning Zandile wasn't sick. So, thank you so much, guys, for the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That was sort of short and sweet.
Yeah, I have a chest pain.
Hi, Emily. I'm surprised. This is on WhatsApp. Hi, Emily. I'm surprised. Suddenly, Zandi can point the suspect. It is totally a lie, and no one can push a person who's armed. Secondly, she mentioned Longwe at late stage. No one mentioned Longwe at the hospital. He disappeared after he pushed the suspect and went out. They are pointing him because he is not a threat. If it is his first appearance at court and he's not dangerous. Right. The lines are still open, guys. One thing for sure, Senzo is definitely in that courtroom, sharing at Lorraine Ukalanje. Agazenzi chest pains are reality. Also kuzoba mnyama emehlweni kumthogo uma esefakaza. Right. Just gonna take a bit of. Can read the comments, Emily, if you can.
I don't have access to
You don't have access. Where are our justice system belong? Okay. Let me see. Good evening. Okay, this one is asking. Right, yeah. So I'm just going to be reading some of the comments. But yeah, the line is still open, guys. You can call on WhatsApp. If your WhatsApp is strong, you can call.
Like I was saying, with regards to the letter thing.
Yes.
I've heard this phrase that Lorraine used in the ENCA interview. She's like, we tried our best to cooperate. Her demeanor right now is not that of cooperation. And I try to also pick out some of the points from today's proceedings of her not really being as cooperative as she paints herself out to be, even in the letter.
Yes.
You know, and the strategy of the letter at the end of the day was very questionable. But will she succeed in saying, but I cooperated, when she's getting chest pains and having issues with accommodation and then posting pictures of herself in a flight? Like, that does not speak cooperation.
Hello.
I am surprised. This is on.
Hi, Zanzi, hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you, sir?
Zanzi Reality, hi.
We good.
Yeah, I heard something for the first time today from the testimony of Zandi.
Yes.
That Longitala came to the hospital with Zandi's mother. So that's the witness that I'm interested in, because there are a lot of questions there. Longitala was the first guy to push the intruder and gone out. My question is, why did he look for help? What did he call the neighbors to come and help? Number two, he let his girlfriend in there with the intruders who are armed with guns. But he didn't bother to come back and rescue the girlfriend and the rest of the people.
Yes.
So I'm interested in witness.
Thank you very much. Zanzi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
It's me again.
Yes.
I'm good, guys. I'm sorry. But there's also something that it keeps bothering me since yesterday. Ukuthi, the way my cousin Akona in the Senzo didn't sound like it was a robbery. Like, the whole demeanor nje. Nalesikhathi bethi uSenzo uye wayofihla phakathi kwasofa uma wakhona walandela, the intruder still naye walandela lapho umama wathatha ifoni, like everything was happening in slow-mo, but also not like robbery vibe. It was just happening as if it doesn't make sense. Even ngalesikhathi eya kamaphiri uZandi ufike wathi uthe kumaphiri sebedubule uSenzo lapha. If it was a robbery, bengeke athi sebedubule uSenzo uzothi ukuthi nginike abantu angibonanga abantu bedlula la, like a sense of urgency. But umezothi sebedubule uSenzo, hi guys.
Yeah,
so
thank
calm.
you very much.
They're
Thank
strong
you.
women.
Let me answer this person for the last time, I think, because Zanzi, hello.
Zanzi Reality, hi.
Okay.
And even on that point, before it leaves me, the screaming.
Zanzi, hello.
The screaming. How come none of their screams are mentioned? Mapiri's scream is mentioned in Tabiseng. The nurses, when she entered the hospital, she screamed. But as the intruders were there, like there was no screaming. None. Silent robbery.
I think it's network issue.
No wailing, no weeping, no something.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Just called you for a minute or so.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to highlight something very, very quickly. I love your show and I follow it all the time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, there's a time whereby Zandi was asked if they discussed about, I don't know what was it about, and she spoke of them discussing about the case, about the identification of the suspect. Then did you see the eyes of the prosecutor?
Yes.
Like he's telling her, don't ever mention this. This is not supposed to mention. Then what case do we have if a prosecutor is actually protecting the truth from coming out? And if truth be told, and another thing that I need you to look into, I know I entrust you with everything. How many bedrooms did Senzo live in first in Malpatine? One. Why I asked that is Zandi said Kelly and Senzo slept in that bedroom, main bedroom.
Yeah.
Where did he and Ulona sleep? Because there was one room left.
I think there was an answer to that Mtogo slept on the sofa.
Said he slept on
That's untrue. So now what triggered this is that Zandi could have slept with Mtogo. That made Ulongu angry. And that's where the story could have came out from. This issue of someone entering and the stuff, it's a cooked up thing.
No, we are going to put for you allegedly because
allegedly.
your view
allegedly.
requires allegedly. Thank you very much.
Yes, because I think that's where everything started. Because Uzan could have gone and slept in her mother's home on that particular Saturday. Why did she opt to sleep there at Malpatine, knowing Lisa's friend is there? And probably it's a 2-bedroom apartment. It's just that we don't know how it's how many roomed apartment.
No.
And then lastly, I just want to thank you. Last time I followed late, it was when you were speaking about the letter that Zandi wrote to the president.
Yes.
And funny enough, it's her now wasting time because she said she's willing to work from Monday to Friday. Then now, what chest pains? Where are they coming from?
Good point. You've got a good point.
Yes. I just want to say, keep it up, guys. Thank you so much. This case has been, sidelined for so long time. I think the more you push like this, the more we engage, the better the chances of getting justice done. Because honestly, Senzo deserves justice.
Yes, he definitely does.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll keep following. I'm following up. I'll comment. I'll do everything that you require for me to do. If it means us to support you guys so that you keep doing what you're doing, please do so. We have got all our support because this thing has to come to an end.
Yes.
It has to.
Yes.
Enough now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a lovely evening.
You too. We don't know where it's where we are. We are reaching.
We honestly don't know, but
Zanzi, hello.
Senzo. Justice for Senzo, guys.
I think your energy, your phone needs. I'm not sure more internet, because I've been answering this number for I don't know for how long.
It's not going.
It's not going through.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, man. Let me see. Right, Emily. Anything? Okay. Mzansi, hello.
Hello, Mr. Anonymous.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What was I thinking? When she was asked, Uzand, to call the police, right? She said she froze. And then again, they phoned Ubabtwala. Now, I'm surprised. Why would you freeze Ufonela Amapoisa 10111 and then you don't freeze Ubabtwala? Make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
And the other thing again, right? Like the previous caller said, Umtogo spent the night in Malpaten, like Monkeboy 4, right? And then she got a call from Ulongwe. And then she said she was at home. So last time we heard Ulongwe Begatiniwe, right? About everything that happened allegedly, right? So in Ulongwe Begatiniwe, obviously he will come there with some attitude, right? Okay, begano senzo, and then like what's going on? And then like now, new version, she says, Senzo, no, what's his name? Long way. They were sitting in the car chatting. I'm like, huh? And then Wabon. So according to me, the motive of fighting was Ulongwe, allegedly. So Mina, according to their own theory, a scuffle that ensued, it was a fight between Uzande, probably with Longwe, right? And Usenzo just went there to defend, and Isbam Lesana, it went off. This was an accident. I still say it was a mistake. It was just a fight, and that gun went off, and it was a mistake. No wonder why they decided to clean up the mess. If there was an intruder, would you have the power to clean up the mess? And this person has just been shot. Everybody's panicking. Everybody's in shock. And these people, they don't even scream to my neighbors to alert them something is amiss. Tell me, Mr. Anonymous, if a gunman comes into the house and that gunman, like for the mere fact that somebody is carrying a gun, that thing, like it will push my adrenaline. Like I want, if I get a chance of just getting away from the scene, the next thing I'll scream my lungs out. So lawyer Sissy, Yena, she didn't scream her lungs out. She's a singer, by the way. She went there to hide in between the bathtub and the sink. And she kept quiet. Make it make sense. We are not kids. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All that is alleged.
No screaming, even after seeing Senzo.
Mzansi, hello. Mzansi, hello.
Mr. Anonymous.
Say, how are you?
Njani?
Sikhona mfowethu njani?
Ngiyaphila. I'm reading from comments on YouTube. Someone is complaining there.
Yeah. I asked that question. Which question? I would read it if it was there. These things are popping up very fast, and
you mean the chat?
And I'm like operating about 3 things at once.
Apologies.
I get you.
Yeah.
Apologies.
So if there's a question that is burning, then I would answer. I would ask it. Okay. The question is: you take on this defense counsel who are shaking there. They don't even make an objection while Baloyi is leading Lorraine in their presence. And yes, Your Honor, all the way. Yes, that is I am. Zanzi, hello. Zanzi, hello. Hello. Okay. Yeah, these people made noise. Their neighbors heard the noise. Was it the noise of scuffle or was it the noise of...
There's no mention of screaming from testimonies.
Mzansi, hello? Wow.
And even at the hospital, she screamed to the people that were at the reception, the ladies that were reception. She screamed and said, Senzo was hurt, Senzo is shot. But at the house, there's no mention of screaming.
Yes. Good evening. I'm speaking as a healthcare professional who worked in ER for a long time. I have seen a lot of trauma and even the deceased. The amazing part is that is the amount of blood in the scene. Usually with the gunshot is a pool of blood, not those spots they are talking about. Miss Lorraine said the disease was starting to get cold. Those in the medical field knows if the corpse is starting to get cold, that is an indication that the person has passed on for hours. This is all scripted in the movie. Thanks for the show. It is interesting, but Mogel, they didn't do her medical research well. I'm so grateful for this new judge. All this, it is an information that comes for free.
Thank you. Someone from emergency services finally confirms it.
Yes. That is now on WhatsApp. So you guys can continue calling.
How does it get cold? Stomach getting cold.
Mm-hmm. And there's a friend who said he came across Senzo at a time when they were rushing him there. Remember on that Netflix thing, and he was like couldn't speak. When he spoke, there was blood coming out. I would like to get that friend also understand.
None of them are talking about any blood that came from his mouth. It's pressure on the wound.
And it's not being mentioned anywhere, but he's giving such information. That it will be very interesting to actually get that friend.
Even that part, lengela.
You know, when you start making a lot of how does the robbery takes place to come with 5 against 2?
How does a robbery takes place? A
robbery. Yeah, yes. It's a robbery. It was typo. So yeah.
Typo.
Okay.
How does a robbery take place with 5 against 2?
Yes, that's a question. 5 against 2.
And remember, the other one had said before de novo, the Mtogo said the other one had a knife. Witness number 1, de novo. Witness number 1 heard 3 gunshots and there was no knife.
What defense skills did they all have leading to them trying to disarm the alleged robbers? My opinion, though, if those guys saw Senzo and Kelly buying soap at the Spaza, maybe they tried but failed to find out that the house was full. So you're saying...
You know where the problem there lies in? If they were trying, there's a BMW X6 outside.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, nice stuff to play with.
There's a
and you don't forget a phone, Senzo's phone. Very, very good at that time.
It was the most expensive at the time.
You take one phone that we don't know. What was the model of that phone, by the way? X6. But the sister is still coming.
I covered Domani.
There's a BMW X6. There's a Polo, the most.
There's a Polo.
You know.
That one in the township is in demand.
Do
you understand?
Yes, it's very... Yeah, but we get your theory,
Yeah, maybe, but...
It does happen. Please like the video, guys. 400. Can we push it to 600 if we can?
You know, I had a shady uncle. Okay, I still have him. He's still
Don't
there
even
was
start.
a time he would visit. I lived in a township, so he would say that he's afraid of parking his car outside because he knows that they're gonna take. And I was like, wow. So we would be instructed to go play outside so that we can guard his car while he's visiting. In a nutshell.
Good story. Zanzi, hello. I think this is the last time. Zanzi, hello.
I can't recognize
him. Okay. I truly love your input, Bafwetu Nenzagahle Impela. Thank you very much. There were no intruders that house. One of the people in the house shot Senzo. The story of the intruder is made up story. Thanks, guys, for this show. I appreciate you. Keep it up. Yes, guys, we are about to leave. Lorraine said that they were struggling to carry him into the car. I guess, yeah, that's yeah. That corpse is very heavy. Yes, I get your point. I do get your point. Mzansi, hello. How are you, sir?
Yes, good evening, Mzazi Wangempela.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Njani?
Siyapila, sir. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I just want someone out there to tell Shalolo that we don't want to sell out tomorrow.
Yeah.
No. And one other thing, what I expected there, whenever the judge wants to hear from the counsel, it should start from accused. I mean, from the representative of accused 1 to 5, going that in that particular order. Just because she's there with that attitude. The problem I have with women in leadership is that may I be forgiven, and it's allegedly as well. That's why she just got that self-centered attitude and that approach. Even on the media issue, she's just the one that is up. But the media does no harm to those to lawyers and to the people in the gallery. What are they hiding for? What are they hiding? We have on the other case. The Mangudu man of them have been filmed everywhere, right, left, and center. But we don't hear such Mickey Mouse complaints.
No, thank you very much, man. Let me take this person because I'm closing now.
Okay.
Cool. Zanzi, hello. Few less than a minute.
Really, how are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good, man. Let me throw in my 2 cents.
You have the last word.
Hello?
You have the last word, yes.
Yeah. No, man. You see now this is, I see another U10, man. Yeah, Baloyi is about to throw this guy under the bus.
Okay.
If you saw his body language today was totally different. He was not happy at all with the language. There is a possibility that he can throw the man at the bus, and that is not giving him anything.
Okay.
You're not giving him a chance to come up with his strength as he used to do. Now, it's either he's losing this case, he's taking the L, or he's throwing this guy under the bus. That's what I saw coming now. And the funny part about Zandi, he was so desperate for this thing going on Monday to Friday. Now she's the one who's coming up with things. She's doing the opposite of everything. She's always saying, when she's conducting all these interviews, she's always like someone who's desperate for further justice, but now she's acting otherwise.
No.
And the other thing, man, it's good now that the prosecutor asked her about the interviews she did on public platform. for the court to subpoena the interview, it's possible. The court can do that. If you can go check some of the during the impeachment of Dalimpofu, the other guy was advocate, who was a witness against Khwebane. And Dalimpofu was trying to prove that this guy is lying. Actually, he went and did interviews with SAPC. And Dalimpofu and his legal team, they managed to subpoena that interview. So Dalimpofu asked the guy, you did interview with SAPC, and the guy confirmed. The following day, Dalimpofu come with his USP and play that interview to prove that this guy is lying. Actually, this is what he said about Khwebane on public platform, on SAPC. Why you said this when you were doing interview? Which part are you lying? On SAPC or here in Parliament during this impeachment? So it's possible to start in that impeachment. But hey, with this legal aid board saying this guy, there is something fishy there, and they don't like any they saw today, man, from this legal, from this defense council. Totally different.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, man, for your contribution. And yeah, that's your last word. Cool. Yeah, guys, it's a closing for us. Please like the video on your way out, and it's a bye from us.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining this conversation. And until the next one, bye. Because it's going to be long too. I wanted to say something.